If, for instance, you're somebody who falls asleep just fine, but wakes up in the middle of the night, around 2 or 3 a.m. or any time for that matter, and has trouble falling back asleep, there are two categories of supplements that you might want to consider. The first is myo-inositol, typically taken as 900 milligrams of myo-inositol. Myo-inositol can help shorten the amount of time that it takes to fall back asleep if you wake up in the middle of the night. Myo-inositol has other beneficial uses as well for mood, etc. If you'd like to see many of the different effects that have been explored in the scientific literature for myo-inositol, you can go to examine.com. It's an excellent site, not just for inositol, but for all supplements for that matter. Other people who wake up in the middle of the night will wake up because their dreams are very intense, or they were having dreams that were so vivid that suddenly they were jolted from their dreams. Those people would do well to avoid certain supplements. So in a moment, I'll talk about the value of a supplement called theanine for falling asleep. But theanine, which typically is taken in dosages anywhere from 100 milligrams to 400 milligrams, depending on body weight and experience and what you find to be most effective for you, minimally effective for you. Well, theanine can be great for many people, but for people who have excessively vivid dreams, those excessively vivid dreams can lead to immediate waking and sometimes a little bit of anxiety upon waking in the middle of the night. So some people who wake up in the middle of the night sort of jolted mentally and physically out of sleep because of their intense dreams would do well to avoid theanine supplementation. I've talked about this a bit before, but it's something that I think a lot of nighttime, middle of the night wakers might be familiar with and would want to take into consideration. Now, for those of you that are not waking up in the middle of the night or not having excessively vivid dreams, but are having trouble falling asleep, two supplements in particular have been shown to be effective for shortening the transition time to sleep and allowing people to ease into sleep more readily. And those are magnesium threonate, which is interchangeable with magnesium bisglycinate. Magnesium bisglycinate and magnesium threonate both have transporter systems that allow them to readily cross the blood-brain barrier, and they lead to a mild form of drowsiness. Mild in the sense that it's not going to prevent you from operating a motor vehicle or kind of any conditions under emergency that might arise in the middle of the night. Or if they did arise during the middle of the night, you'd still be able to function. So it's not like a sleeping pill. But people who take those often find that their transition time into sleep is much faster and their sleep is also much deeper. Incidentally, those supplements are also thought to be useful for cognitive support and neuroprotection, although there's less data on that. Okay, so that's for falling asleep. That's one category. Either magnesium threonate or bisglycinate would be interchangeable for assisting the transition time into sleep. And then the other supplement is apigenin, A-P-I-G-E-N-I-N. Apigenin, which is a derivative of chamomile. I've talked about this in various podcasts before. Also acts as a bit of a anxiety-lowering compound, which is essential prior to sleep for people to essentially turn off their thinking or to be able to reduce the amount of ruminating and problem-solving and future anticipation that they're doing, which is a requirement for falling asleep. So what's the rational approach to supplementing in a way that allows you to fall asleep more quickly and stay asleep? Well, would you immediately take magnesium threonate and apigenin together? Well, that depends. If you have the budget and you just simply want to fall asleep quicker and you don't care which of those two ingredients is going to be more effective for you, well, then you could try one, for instance, magnesium threonate, and try it for perhaps a week and see how that affects your latency to sleep time. That is how quickly you fall asleep. Or you could try apigenin in the first week, or you could combine them both, or you could try magnesium threonate for a week, then switch to only apigenin for a week and evaluate which one works better for you. If neither works for you, I do recommend trying the combination together. Again, this is just the way that any scientist would design an experiment to try and understand which variables, that is, which ingredients are most effective for the result that you want, as opposed to just lumping them together and taking them. That said, a lot of people want excellent sleep so badly that they just say, okay, I'm just going to take magnesium threonate, I'm going to take apigenin, I'm going to take theanine. If my dreams are too vivid or I'm waking up in the middle of the night from excessively vivid dreams, I'll drop the theanine. And many people actually derive great benefit from that approach. But because today we're talking about the most rational, cost-effective, and biologically effective approach to supplementation, if you're not sleeping as well as you would like to, or if you want to explore what sleeping even more deeply might do for your mental health, physical health, and performance, well, then it makes sense to think about the various supplements for falling asleep versus remaining asleep, what to include, what not to include, and to do that systematically. And again, I think 1 week's time of taking something, provided it doesn't induce any negative effects, right? If something induces a negative effect, I recommend ceasing taking it immediately. But if something does not produce any negative effects, then I think you want to try a single ingredient formulation for about a week while not varying anything else, not changing anything else in your overall protocols of nutrition or supplementation. I mean, it's impossible to clamp everything perfectly from week to week, but don't change anything else dramatically and just add that supplement for a given week, see how it benefits your sleep. Maybe add in a second supplement if you like, or rather swap and try a different supplement for a week and then see what works best and see if the combination works even better.
And I started to do a few things that worked for me, and I've now got this whole program, which I'll tell you about now. So I start with trying to be calm at the end of the night. I don't watch TV late at night, and I try my best not to look at screens, though it's increasingly difficult. And I turn down the blue light in my screen. I wear some blue light blocking glasses most nights, unless I'm being sociable and I don't want to look like too much of a nerd. But I find that really does help with my eye strain as well. Me and too. I try not to. I try to just read. Or nowadays, you've turned me on to meditation and do that just before sleep. And often that puts me to sleep. And so that's working. I also take some supplements. I take GABA, GABA, and L-theanine, and this magnesium that we talked about earlier. And that combination is typically enough. I have a warm drink. Sometimes I have a shower these days. I like that more and more. And that just puts me in a very calm state. I reduce the temperature of my bed. I have a bed that you can control the temperature. And being a little cooler is very good. And particularly during the night when it's cool, I sleep. Most people sleep more deeply. Mm-hmm. And those are the main hacks. If I can't get to sleep, I have other things that I think, I know, Serena, you don't think are necessarily the best things, such as melatonin and even Ambien. But I don't take those very often unless I absolutely need to get to sleep.
There's different things. There's some herbal support too. There's passion flower, and there's valerian root, and there's chamomile. There's tulsi. There's different teas and natural plant-based options for that too. And then I also love, using magnesium as well. And then there's some natural melatonin that's in tart cherry juice. So for people who want to have a little bit of that before bed, that's also helpful for sleep to kind of get your body into that state.
I really take my sleep seriously, and I'm, someone who functions best with a consistent bedtime and wake up time. So I am in bed usually for 8 hours a night, and that's typically 10 to 6. And that usually results in probably 7.5 hours of sleep. I'm going to just rattle off the names of things I use because I don't have any affiliation with these things. So I use 8 Sleep as my mattress cover. I love what these guys have done. It's a fantastic cooling product, and it's made an enormous difference for me. I've been using it for the last 3 years. Most of our patients are using it. There are other products out there, and I've tried them, and they're good. This one, I just happen to fancy the most.
Agreed.
I'm also very particular about what I'm doing before bed and what I'm not doing before bed. So I really, and I'm not perfect with this. I'm not perfect with any of these things, Rhonda, but I really go out of my way to not look at anything that's going to activate me. So I try not to look at email for a couple hours before bed. In fact, I have 2 separate phones. I have like my regular phone that has email and social media and junk on it. And then I have what I call my bat phone that literally has nothing. It's just, it has like the remote to the TV, and it has like a phone and email, but like, a phone and text, but only like 2 people know the number, my wife and my daughter. And that's about it. And the camera. So it's basically an excuse to have a camera and a phone if I'm going someplace and I don't want my phone with me. So that's kind of the phone that's with me if I'm watching TV downstairs or something like that. But I can't even be tempted to look at social media or look at email. So it's all in this spirit of like turning the system down before bed. Even little things like I'll brush and floss my teeth before I go in the sauna because I sauna before bed as well. So that once I'm done with that sauna and shower, like I'm just going straight into bed. So for me, that's also a very productive sleep trick. There's certain supplements that I use to sleep as well. So I'm a fan of glycine, ashwagandha, magnesium L-threonate, and just straight mag oxide as well. I don't use melatonin or phosphatidylserine unless I'm jet lagging. If I'm time zone hopping, I'll use those as well. So that's sleep. I do make sure I stop eating at least 3 hours before bed. It really makes a difference going back to sleep that I go to bed a little hungry. If I ever go to bed with my belly too full, it feels nice, but I don't sleep as well. So I really try to err on the side of going to bed a little hungry. And that's, I'm really lucky because we have young kids, so we eat early. So we're eating at 6. So I'm going to bed typically with 4 hours between when I last ate and when I go to sleep.
Malate, again, the short chain fatty acid. And when you do intense exercise, you release endotoxin from your gut. I'm just going back to the interesting work because the malate being the short chain fatty acid, and Mark Shiganaga showing, this is all in animal research, by the way. But it was like, feeding these animals malate. It really protected the gut, endotoxin release, and it affected metabolic syndrome and all sorts of things. But I think malate's awesome. And I always try to eat green apples. They're really high in malic acid.
Oh, good to know.
And tart cherries. Tart cherries are really high in it as well. So,
they also taste really good.
But I was really interested in the magnesium threonate stuff. I take a supplement called Magnesium by Moon Juice, and it's like a little powder. It's got a little bit of monk fruit, but it tastes good. So I do it a little bit before bedtime as well. Probably several more hours, though, because I don't like to drink tons and tons of fluids before I go to bed. And it has magnesium threonate and a variety of other versions of magnesium in it as well. And I really like it. But I thought the magnesium threonate stuff was super interesting. I would love to see more clinical data as well. But I think, once we get it, it'll probably be like, oh, yeah, it's getting into the brain and it's awesome. So, why wait?